Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to talk about some whoopsies that have gone and happened in the Pokemon trading card game, and some apologies that have gone and been given for it. And let's start off with Guzma Hala. Now, we are talking about simplified Chinese here. We're talking about the Chinese mainland, not Hong Kong and Taiwan that use traditional Chinese. But it's really interesting to see the difference in approach that they are taking compared to what we've seen over here. So first of all, there are three cards we need to be talking about. But first of all, we've got Guzma Hala. And basically what we've got here is a mistranslation in the name. If you look at these two cards side by side, you might think, well, hang on a second, Wassy, I don't see any problems. Or your knowledge of the kanji might be better than mine, and you might have spotted it straight away. But if we look at the third kanji from the left here, you will notice that while they've done a whoopsie, ladies and gentlemen, it's supposed to be horse, but they've actually printed ma. Apologies if I'm pronouncing them badly. So they've done a little bit of a mistranslation, and this doesn't actually matter, let's be clear. It doesn't actually affect the game in any way at all, but they've gone and issued a correction. They've got a thing on the website that basically says, there is a problem of printing errors on the card surface. We apologise for the inconvenience caused to all trainers. But it actually goes a little bit further. Now, I should say there's actually 4 different versions of the card that are affected, and it was clearly a mistake in the translation that then got copied onto all the cards. So we've got these two that I've been showing you. We've got these two that look exactly the same, and they kind of are, but it's a set number that's a little bit different. Then we've got the lovely reverse hollow one with all of those Pokeballs hanging around behind them. And then we've got the lovely full art version. And you'll notice that in all cases the cards are the same, except that one kanji is wrong. And that means that they've got the name of the card wrong, basically. Doesn't affect the gameplay, but the card has. It's a little bit wrong. Now, you might be thinking, well, that doesn't really matter, put out an errata, tell everyone about it, just carry on. But no, ladies and gentlemen, they've gone quite a bit further. They've said this: since the card is only a typographical error of the card name and does not affect the actual effect of the card, this is Google translated, I apologise, the card with the error can still be used normally in the official game and is regarded as a supporter card when used, Guzma Hala. At the same time, we also support the replacement of the wrong card. The replacement method is as follows. From January the 18th to July the 18th of this year, please go to the Pokemon Card Official Mini Program Pokemon Card member to replace it. For details, please consult the Pokemon Card Official Mini Program customer service. And then availability and number of replacements may change due to actual conditions, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they've got an official replacement program for a card which has only got the wrong name. And this is a kind of thing that seems like erratas are made for. And it's not just Pokemon, let's be clear. There's a number of other card games that I follow, like Digimon, that have had this in English, and they've basically just said, yeah, we're just not doing it, all right? We're not going to reissue the cards with the correction. You all know what the correction is. It's not that big a deal. I kind of love the way that the Pokemon Company over in China have gone, look, I know this doesn't actually affect the card, and if you just want to use it, that's fine. But if you want a corrected version, that's fine as well. And this is basically the best of all worlds here, because you've got that brilliant situation where either you can keep the card because you don't care and just use it as it is, or you do care so you can get one that actually looks right. And no matter which one of those you fall down on, you can have what you want. Either you get the card which is corrected, brilliant, or you don't care about getting it corrected, also brilliant, and it's up to you. And I just love this. And I think this is a perfect way to deal with a situation like this. Have a replacement program, but keep the other ones legal. Now, we did see this with Ditto in some Asian territories like Taiwan, and they did have a replacement, but they didn't allow you to use the old one. But the deal with this was very simple. Remember, the way Ditto works is that they're literally printing Ditto over another card. But the problem was the Ditto that was originally printed over in Taiwan, you could literally tell it was a little bit thicker. And for that reason, we kind of had to have it so that they had to be replaced, because you could literally pick the version out of a deck because it was a little bit thicker, the Ditto was a bit big, it overhung a tiny bit or something like that. You could literally tell them apart. You could tell the Ditto. So, yeah, that was fine. The Ditto was a different size. We had to have the program where you changed it. Here, we don't have to have a program where you change it, so it's an option, not forced into it. That's lovely. And we can compare this, for instance, with Cinderace. Because if we look at Cinderace as an example, Cinderace is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Cinderace is wrong. And I've talked about this before. We got Cinderace printed with the wrong retreat cost. Now, in Japan, it was printed with a retreat cost of 2. Over here, it was printed with a retreat cost of 1. And there was an official announcement showing a picture of it with a retreat cost of 2, like it should have. But as far as I'm aware, and please correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong about this, there was never actually a correct version issued. It was just a case of, sorry about that. And I understand why they don't want to be doing this and correcting them and all of that. It's a real pain. The one thing that really annoys me about this Cinderace, and I've told you before, but I'm going to tell you again because it really annoys me. Yes, it is technically an error card in that it's got the wrong retreat cost printed on it, but it's not actually an error card because there is no corrected version. It's not an error card in the way that you would imagine it to be. I think that makes perfect sense. And yet, there's always been people who are trying to charge you more because it's an error. I mean, if we go on TCG Player and have a look at that Cinderace, it's got a market price of 32 cents. Because it's not a rare card. Well, okay, technically it is a rare card, all right? It is technically a rare card. That is the rarity. What I mean is, it is an ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill, standard rare card, which is as rare as any rare card, and is worth about 30 cents. And that is what it's selling for on TCG Player. But then you got people like this person on eBay who's like, oh, it's an error, $22.50. No. And don't get me wrong, like I've said, it is technically an error in that it has the wrong retreat cost printed on it, but it's not an error card in the way that would give it any value, in the way we would generally refer to error cards, because it is the only version that's been printed. It is an ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill rare card, and anyone trying to sell this for a ridiculous amount of money is a scam artist. And yeah, now, okay, I should say I've actually been comparing them wrong, because this is the shattered foil version of it that came from the starter deck. So you have my apologies, I've been misleading. That one's worth $1. Sorry about that, didn't mean to mislead you. It's a $1 card. Stop trying to sell it for $20 online. That is just dishonest. And putting error in big capital letters. They know what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. Don't fall for it. So there we didn't get the correction. Had we, and this is what's interesting. This is why I bring up Cinderace. Cinderace has no value because there is only one version of it. Yes, it is an error, but there's only one version. It's a standard rare card. Here, there are going to be 2 versions of each of these Guzma and Hala, and especially when it comes to the full art, we are going to see a fun situation where one of these is going to have more copies than the other. One of these could actually be worth a bunch. And if they're going to this much effort to try and replace it, I'm willing to bet they're reprinting it as well. I would try and get one of each. If I was over in China collecting them, I would try and get one of each because I find this very interesting indeed. Now, there are a couple of other cards which have been mistranslated in China that we need to mention quickly, and that is Arbok and Wheezing. And I need you to cast your minds back, ladies and gentlemen. I need you to cast your minds back and try and remember what these 2 cards have in common. Have you got it yet, ladies and gentlemen? Have you got it yet? Now, these are from Hidden Fates. And what is important about these cards is they both interact with the supporter card, Jessie and James. If we just look at the English versions for a minute to make things a little bit easier, Arbok says, if Jessie and James is in your discard pile, the attack does 50 plus 80 more damage. And Weezing says, if it's discarded with the effect of Jessie and James, you may have your opponent discard a card from their hand. Jessie and James, a member, says each player discards 2 cards from their hand. Your opponent discards first. And essentially what's gone and happened here is that they've gone and translated it. They haven't translated it as Jessie and James. They've translated it as Jessie and James. And I'm just showing you the Google translation here because I absolutely love it. Because if you Google translate it, both of them are literally just putting "and" in red, and it's exactly the same. But the difference here, I believe the difference is, you've got the card, Jessie and James, versus the card Jessie and the card James. So Jessie and James as one card, or Jessie and James as 2 separate cards. I believe that is essentially what they've gone and done. They've gone and basically written it as if you've got the card Jessie and the card James, rather than the card Jessie and James. This one is a little bit more awkward to actually see it, unless you've got, a real ability to read simplified Chinese. I think this one might be a lot more awkward, but that's where we are. Now, they haven't actually said how they're going to replace this, but they have said the replacement measures for the above cards will be notified separately. And they also say, we will strengthen quality management in the future to avoid similar mistakes from happening again. And this is at the time where a bunch of you watching probably go, come on, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. How does this happen? Well, simple. As I've told you, at the moment, mainland China, simplified Chinese, has been getting Pokemon cards since like October. This is all still super new. I just told you about the new set the other day that's bringing in tag teams. And the relevance of that is that they are going very fast. They are catching up with other Asian territories like Japan and Hong Kong and Taiwan. And they are translating and releasing a large amount of cards in a short amount of time. There are going to be mistakes. Like, I would love it if this didn't happen. I'm sure Pokemon would love it if this didn't happen. But when you're translating that many cards in that short a time, it is inevitable that some mistakes are going to happen. So they're going to go and do what they always go and do, what every company goes and does in situations like this. They're going to look at what went wrong, they're going to look at how this happened, and they're going to make a concerted effort to fix it. Might this happen again? Yeah. Honestly, this might happen again, I'm sorry, but like I say, this many cards in this short time frame absolutely could happen again. Let's cross our fingers that it doesn't. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this. I want to know how much you care. I want to know if you want these replacement situations or whether you're fine with just an errata. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and all kinds of other card games and fun things. It's really quite fun over there. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel. You can get some bonus podcasts where I answer all of your questions. You can join a Discord and chat about, well, anything you want to. And you can get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Andy White, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person. So thank you very much for all the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.